Oh dear, this is no good. Well guys, the reviews have come in for the first episode, and it's not great. There's a distinct lack of views, everyone looks horribly uncomfortable, and Dave's head is way too shiny.
Yahtzee!
You sunk my battleship!
Hello? Yeah. Okay.
I thought this was Uno.
Yeah, I know.
Does that look like a draw four? We really gotta learn how to play chess.
Alright, pipe down you two. It's time for the mission debrief. Today's mission, From Russia with Love, from 1963. In the 1963 film, From Russia with Love, James Bond squares off against the evil Spectre organization in a pulse-pounding race to seize the Soviet Lecter decoding machine. His mission thrusts him into a thrilling boat chase, a brutal helicopter attack, and a deadly brawl aboard the Orient Express, proving that once again, Agent 007 can't be stopped. Whew. Well, that's today's mission, From Russia with Love. Agent Dave, do you have any commie-themed drinks for us today?
How about a SMERSH? Alrighty, time to make our drink, the SMERSH, as I'm sure I've yelled many times, From Russia with Love. It's basically just a really expensive vodka martini, which requires a little bit of prep on your part.
I hope you're good at eating with your fingers.
You're really getting Beluga Noble. I like Transatlantic. They have an upgrade from this. It comes with a little hammer, and you have to break the cap off. I'm not doing that. 3 shots of vodka because you really want to get smashed. 1/2 jigger of Black Olive infused Noilly Prat. That's this stuff, which is really expensive vermouth that you're going to steep black olives in. And this is its only known use because in anything else, it tastes like feet. And then you stir for an inordinately long time. Strain it out. Guarantee you it tastes better than it looks, unless you're a little girl named Joe. Give it a spritz of lemon oils and the traditional garnish of a big old heaping pile of absolutely delicious Russian Beluga caviar. And that's a SMERSH.
Okay, so what the hell is this thing?
It's called a SMERSH. It's the best Russian caviar you can get. And it's technically, the drink is kind of a chaser to the caviar. It's really good vodka. It's Russian vodka.
So when I pitched this show, the whole idea was just to do cocktails and watch James Bond movies.
Yes.
This is supposed to be like a high-class price to move.
This is good,
Yeah, it's like a high-class price to move.
but this is good.
This looks putrid.
So we have to, okay, so we have to eat this first.
Eat the fish eggs, and then use the boozy olive vodka to wash it down. Does that not sound good to anyone
We have
else?
to eat the whole, we eat the whole thing?
The whole thing.
Oh, I don't want to eat fish eggs. I don't like fish.
This looks fucking gross. Bottoms up?
Fuck you, Russia. Oh. How is that a cocktail?
Yeah, it's delicious, right?
Oh.
Oh my god. Okay.
Oh.
Oh. That was offensive.
Jesus Christ. All right, well, that's the hardest part of the mission down, I think. You are not allowed to pick the drinks anymore. That was miserable. Not even just the caviar bit. Like, just the drink itself. It just tastes bad.
It tastes like rubbing alcohol to me.
It really does. And like, because like I've had the vodka by itself. It's Beluga, right? Mm-hmm. It's strong, but it's not bad. It does, like, it tastes like pine salt.
I mean, I'm glad that you're celebrating your wrongness, but this is the best cocktail ever made.
Okay, so for the mission, we gotta rate our movie based on 5 categories. We've got babes, we've got booze, we've got baddies, we've got gadgets, and we got music. I'm gonna rate those on a scale from 001 to 007.
Now that we were just assaulted, I guess it's time for the mission debrief. And we'll start off with the first category, babes. And we've got 2 rollovers from the first one. We have Sylvia Trench and Miss Moneypenny. A lot more play with Miss Moneypenny this time.
Yeah.
It was way better. Like, it's like that's the best part of this movie, is the scenes with Bond and Moneypenny.
Maybe I should get you to take me there someday. I've tried everything else.
Darling Moneypenny, you know I never even look at another woman.
Oh, really, James?
Mm-hmm. Let me tell you the secret of the world.
Miss Moneypenny, ask 007 to leave the photograph. I'm sure he'll recognize the lady when he sees her.
You have Tanya, who's more of she's like a double agent, but she doesn't realize it. She's working for Russia and SMERSH, but not really.
She has no idea what's going on.
She has no idea what's going on. She passes out at some point.
Well, that's because she got drugged.
She gets smacked by Sean Connery.
Multiple times. So when it comes to the babes in this movie, I kind of like them. I thought Tanya was great for the first kind of like real Bond girl. Because in Dr. No, we had someone, but she wasn't that strong. Here, Tanya does a lot more stuff. She double crosses 007 once or twice. She's in over her head, and she doesn't realize that she's getting played. But it's still nice because for her, she comes to terms with that, and she still chooses James Bond because I guess it's, you know, Sean Connery, and no one can turn down sex from Sean Connery.
So, Rosa Klebb. Perfect score.
Who, like, at first I was like, are they trying to do like a lesbian angle? And yes, they were. Because in the book she was like apparently overtly a lesbian.
Yeah.
Which, for the 60s,
is really
is a big deal, especially with it's well, not really forward thinking because it's supposed to be like yellow novel fucking, you know,
trash.
Well, he was trying to show that the Russians were really, really, really evil because that's why she was kicked out of SMERSH, is that she's lesbian and Russians don't like that.
The thing that's interesting is that at this point, homosexuality was fucking illegal in Britain.
Yeah.
Which is why they shot at Istanbul. But still, something to keep in mind, yes, it's James Bond, yes, it's British character, blah, 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 but it's an American production, which is why they were able to do that kind of shit.
Yeah.
The state is proud of you.
Thank you, Comrade Colonel.
Take off your jacket.
Turn around.
You're a fine-looking girl. Sit down.
All right, gentlemen, so what are your scores? Nick, I'm gonna start with you first. What would you rate the babes?
I would say as far as we have a lot more female characters, femme fatale kind of characters. Our first actual femme fatale character in Rosa Klebb, and one of the few actual like imposing female villains in James Bond. I would say that Tanya has a little bit less to do, a better setup than Honey Rider, but less to do. So I'll go 5. No, I'll go 4. I'll go with 4.
4.
Yeah.
Dave, what's your rating?
I'm gonna have to go 5 too, because like you said, Rosa Klebb is there and actually doing stuff, and a persistent threat, and a bad guy, and a major plot point, and the gypsy girls are great looking. But yeah, the actual stereotypical Bond girls don't have anything to do but stand around and look concerned. So 5 is the best I can do.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna go with a 5 as well. Yeah, it was one of those things, like, I feel like it built on from the previous Bond movie. The Bond girls are better. Tanya is a better, like, lead for the girl. And then, of course, Rosa Klebb is a great villain. I like her dressed as the maid at the end. It's just hilarious. It gets a good laugh out of me.
With Tanya, does she even really know? Like, is she ever really kind of officially brought in on the fact of like, oh, Spectre's been using you this whole
that's
time?
the thing. Like, up until the very end, she still thinks she's just working for Russia. So that's why, like, she's essentially.
So that's why the shot. That's when she shoots Rosa Klebb.
Yeah, she realizes.
It's supposed to have like an actual.
Yeah,
right.
It's supposed to have extra. It's symbolism, like, yeah.
I understand, like the knife has poison on it, but there's just no way to shoot that and it not just look like her just kicking her. It looks so fucking goofy. And like that's the finale of the movie. Like that's the big end fight.
It's an awkward attempt at a dick kick.
It's just like it's a little old lady trying to kick a guy in the shins. It's just fucking weird. But yeah, that's something else. That's why it sucks that Rosa Klebb had that guy. Like she could have been a great character, and like instead she's just like me, kick your feet. It's weird.
It's based on a real KGB weapon, to be fair.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like it's fine if it's like a weird like Jackie Chan like overhead kick kind of thing. But when it's just this, when it's a cleaning lady that's just like kicking her feet at you, it just looks, I don't know.
All right, well, on to booze, a very sad category in this movie.
Yep.
Because all he drinks is champagne and Rocky, which is an aperitif, which is kind of like champagne, only not. 1. Nick?
Much like this drink, the booze in our movie tonight was a fucking letdown. So I'm also gonna go with a 1.
I'm going to be in agreement. 1. The drinks sucked because I'm not a champagne guy.
No one's a champagne guy.
I'm not a wine person either. And then, yeah, if you had to pair it off with this monstrosity, if I had to include this in the whole booze experience, I would give it a negative value, but 1.
This is 7.
All right, gentlemen, so we're moving on to our next category, which is going to be baddies. This time we've got quite an establishment of a lot of characters. This is like the first real foray into Spectre. We got our first appearance of Blofeld, like true appearance, quote unquote, where he's sitting there with his cat, all that stuff where that cliche is established here. And then the main bad that's for this movie is Rosa Klebb. She's the Russian commander that recruits Tanya. She is recruited by Blofeld into Spectre. And that set up the whole plot, triple cross and all that fun stuff. So for the heavy in this movie, the character's name is Grant, played by a very young, very not drunk Robert Shaw. And they decide to have dinner initially. And then they fight inside of a cabin and no one hears it.
I love the Grant character. I think it's a great heavy. Nobody remembers him for some bizarre reason. He gets lost in a shuffle of Xenia on the top and Jaws and Knick Knack. But it's a great character, despite the fact that they had to put fucking Robert Shaw in an apple crate so he would be as tall as Sean Connery.
I think he kind of gets overridden because there have been so many other chiseled blonde guy kind of characters. Like there's one in like every other James Bond movies has that weird like Aryan adversary against James Bond.
I don't know. I guess Grant just fits as like a good, almost like a Dark Link version of Sean Connery, and kind of mirrors him in some way, as opposed to being some big over-the-top nonsense or a girl with a knife in her boot. So I really like Grant. I really like the fight scene. That was absolutely great because it was Robert Shaw and Sean Connery going, "All right, let's go, buddy," and just.
I think it was shot over a couple weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks I think it took them, because they were literally just smashing their heads into walls and going like they didn't want to use stuntmen. So and it came across. It looks like two dudes who kind of know how to fight but don't, beating the crap out of each other, which is what most military fights are. And it came across great. So yeah, kudos to Grant, kudos to Rosa Klebb and Blofeld's hand.
Well, with Grant, I thought it was weird that they were able to get him. They were able to get him so cheap to work for Spectre. Because for $10,000, you can get the suit, the gun, the whole damn thing.
Oh, did they establish that in the movie?
It's a Jaws joke.
Oh.
The head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
There's a saying in England, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with Dave here. I liked what you said, that he's like the anti-James Bond, which I really liked, that he's someone that they're comparable skill level. He's not like an outright heavy. And I like that, yeah, they had the tussle. I like that he had the wire in his watch. I thought that was really nifty. I thought that was something like, yeah, a real assassin would use that. And then, yeah, Robert Shaw, I thought he was great in the movie. I thought he had a great performance. He sold it well, especially towards like the halfway point in the movie when he deceives Bond and all that. I thought, actually, now that I think about it, his accent was hilariously bad because he did like a southern drawl or.
Well, that's the whole thing. He is the anti-Bond because he's a street urchin who gets into like basically becoming a mercenary, the anti-agent, whereas James Bond is super posh and he's got this aristocratic upbringing. That's why he's choosing the wrong wines. He keeps calling him old man, which only people, no one of actual class would call anyone old man or chap or anything like that.
Right.
It's just like there's little jabs here and there. So it is very much an anti-Bond. It's a great way to put it. So with Kronstein, he starts off with playing chess, and something that's mentioned a lot with reviews and Wikipedia and everything like that, is they're like, it's nice that you get this idea that it's going to be this long-standing game, but the moment he says, "Oh, you're needed," he's just like, "Okay, well, fine," and he just instantly ends the match. But even better is the person he's playing against doesn't just go, "What was that?" Because no one in chess doesn't see it coming. They're like, "Oh, you did that. All right, fuck." Like that's how every game of chess in reality actually ends. Unless you're brand new to chess, which if you're at that fucking point, you wouldn't be. So that's something that I've seen mentioned on a bunch of different notes. But like, oh, in this chess match, normally people do this. So I thought that was neat. You also somebody mentioned in the room, I think it might have been you, that he's very much just a Peter Lorre knockoff.
Oh yeah, he looks like the Russian version of Peter Lorre.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is fun because Peter Lorre originally played Le Chiffre in the Casino Royale, which we will watch at some point.
Unfortunately.
The climax episode.
All right, gentlemen, so what would you give your rating for Baddies?
It's better, but it's still not great. So I would say, I think I would go with 5 on this, because by and large, I'm trying to keep in mind what I do with Dr. No, because by and large, From Russia with Love is definitely better than Dr. No.
Oh, yeah.
In almost every category, with the exception of like booze. But yeah, I'd say 5.
Okay. Dave?
I'm going to go even higher than that. I actually really like Grant. Rosa Klebb is also a strong character that establishes, and kind of hard, that a 4'11" woman is a serious threat, and they kind of sort of pull it off.
Unless you have a chair.
But yeah, so I'm going to go full 6. Not quite perfect, but it definitely great baddies. And once again, Blofeld's hand and cat. So, you know, it establishes baddies further down the line.
So yeah, when it comes to my rating, I think I'm going to give it a 5. It's one of those things that where I really did like, I did like the setup for this movie. I did like Grant. I thought, yeah, like the anti-Bond stuff I thought was my favorite part. Just that mano-a-mano stuff I thought was set up really well. I mean, this is the first appearance of Blofeld, but I mean, I like it. I like just, you know, the stroking the cat and all that stuff. I love that kind of cliche. They're not like stronger like later movies. Like, you know, there's better big bads or heavies and all that, but better than Dr. No. So yeah, I think I'd give it a 5.
Continuing with the theme of being better than Dr. No, the gadgets are way better in this movie than they were in the first. Because the best gadget we had the last time was fucking pomade.
Or hair.
Right. But with this, it's we get our first appearance of Q as we know him, the briefcase with the knife and the hidden sovereigns and everything that all just shows up and it's right when it's supposed to at that one time. With the exception of the bullets. He doesn't really use the bullets.
But yeah, the fact that they established all those things earlier and then that they all pay off towards the end was really satisfying. Because yeah, the way Bond uses them is really cool.
Yeah, which that's a continuing thing. It's just like, hey, here's a thing that here's a thing you're supposed to do, and here's a way that you're not supposed to use it, and then that's how he usually ends up using it. It's kind of a theme that goes through all the movies. But with this one, like everything just kind of hits all at once. It's like, here's the sovereigns, here's the sovereigns, here's the blow up in the face, here's the blow up in the face. It's all that, everything all kind of happens at once, with the exception of the bullets. And then was mentioned earlier, Grant's garrote in the wristwatch.
Yeah.
Which is actually, there's a theory that Bond actually stole that watch because Bond uses that watch later on in the series. So there's a theory that that gadget that he uses, he actually stole from Grant and has just been using since then.
I'm not enough of a Bond aficionado, but apparently it also shows up something else later where Bond has to clear out his desk and you can clearly see that watch.
Yeah.
So in my head, that's what actually happens.
And I just also wanted to point out, just because it is a gadget, and it's just one of those things that, because obviously it was filmed in the 60s, but when Bond and Tanya are on the boat, and he's got the recorder, oh my God.
Well, the camera, but it's actually an audio recorder.
Right, yeah. It's just one of those things, like, obviously it was 60s tech, but it's still cool to look at, and it's still one of those things that obviously they still used. It's still a gadget, but my God, is it...
But it leads to a great scene.
That
where they're
everyone
doing
laughed in the theater.
When all the the generals and the agents are all sitting around listening to the tape recorder, and Moneypenny sneaks off to her desk. Hilarious. Such a great scene.
Am I as exciting as all those Western girls?
Oh, once when I was with Am in Tokyo, we had an interesting experience.
Thank you, Miss Moneypenny. That's all.
Yeah, with the gadgets, this is much improved. I'm ready to give my rolling on that. I'll say 4 on that. It's still not gimmicky enough to my liking, but it's certainly better than hair and grease. So we'll go with that.
Okay, Dave.
I honestly really like the gadgets. The garrote watch is like a staple of spy movies now, probably because of this. I love briefcase doodads, and this is the ultimate briefcase doodad. I'm probably going to go 5. Everything's great. And once again, there's a huge payoff of like, check my briefcase, and blows up in Grant's face.
So when it comes to my rating for the gadgets, I think I'm going to give it a 4. It's one of those things that, like, it definitely is better than Dr. No because, yeah, the baseline was pretty low. But it's not gimmicky enough. I think that's one of those things, I think, like, especially in, like, later Bonds, like Die Another Day, I love all the dumb gimmick stuff. That stuff's some of my favorite Bond stuff. So I do like I said, the recorder is dumb and goofy, but I kind of like it just because it's a nice visual prop. And then, yeah, of course, him having the watch with the wire in it, that's super awesome. It's useful, it's tactical. But yeah, for my rating, 4 overall. It's better than Dr. No, but it doesn't have quite enough gimmicks for me to truly love it.
Up last we have music, and in this category, once again, a little lacking, a little bit better than just the James Bond theme, but now we have just the James Bond theme and just a terrible song.
It's not terrible.
Our definitions of terrible vary greatly.
It's
Passable.
I think it might be the weakest of the title songs.
Sounds like a lounge singer singing in a bathroom at midnight. So I'm going to give that a solid 2 because Dr. No was a 1.
I'd say, yeah, 2 is probably fair. It's one of those things like, it kind of annoys me because, yeah, we talked about last time how they kind of overused the James Bond, the Dr. No theme, and it was more obnoxious here because they had more music to play with. But because like in one of the scenes that just drove me up a wall is, yeah, Bond is going to his hotel room for the first time, and he's looking around for any spy gear. But it's just like it's the music acts like it's like the third act. It feels like the climax, and like literally the music crescendos when he looks behind a painting, and it's just like it's bad. And the only other thing I would want to mention that I kind of like, just because it was kind of a nice edit, is they do play the title song over in the music, and then they make it diegetic because they cut to people playing that song on a radio on a boat, and I thought that was kind of nice.
Look at you, Mr. Film School, using a word like diegetic. Joe Bob would fucking hate you.
Yeah, that 90K in student loans really paying off.
God, I'm glad I didn't pay $90K for a waste of a degree.
For a state college audiovisual degree.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't agree with him more.
I may even give up golf for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for music, I think I'm gonna go. I'll go with 2, because the more I'm thinking of the different themes in my head, I'm trying to find if there is a worse title song. I know there is one, but I can't remember the hell it is. So I'll go with 2. I don't really want to go with 3. But it is more improved than Dr. No. It's not just the theme. There is at least a score this time. But yeah, we've got the. I'll go 2. All right, Q. What do we got? What's our where does From Russia with Love stand on this plot?
So let me do some quick calculations. Oh wait, yeah, I'm a scientist. I don't need to do that. So overall, we gave it about a 3. It was a little bit closer. It was almost 3.5, but we round down here because we hate fractions. So overall, a 3. It's one of those things that it's middle of the road. It's better James Bond, but it's not terrible. But it doesn't really quite get to the heights of James Bond cheesiness or cliche stuff that we really love.
3 sounds. It's weird because I know it's, numbers don't lie and facts don't care about your feelings, but 3 seems lower than I wanted, but we're also going by a lot of specific categories. Overall, this is much improved than Dr. No.
Oh, totally.
What I remember of Goldfinger is much improved over this. It's weird that this is definitely one of like the forgotten Bonds, because people always were like, oh, I forget how good this is.
Yeah, because it's one of those things, because we were talking about earlier, like, Grant isn't like a memorable bad, but, me and Dave like him. Yeah, he's not, it's one of the movie doesn't really have those big moments, but
it sets
it up.
Yeah.
It kind of fades in the background when you have an assassin who's an 8-foot tall dude with steel teeth, or a half-naked woman who squeezes men to death.
Right.
And even to Dr. No, like, I know we're comparing it favorably to Dr. No, but even then, Dr. No, the final act in that base that is an amazing set, like, that they've copied for every spy movie forever.
That's something we didn't really talk about, that I do kind of want to talk about now that we're kind of about the overall of the movie. Like, this movie just ends in the most unsatisfying way.
Yeah, that's one of those things that kind of I didn't like about the movie, is it just stops. They're like, oh, I guess we're done, so we'll just film everyone on a rear projection and be done for the day. Because in the movie, it really annoys me because they film it on a rear projection, but earlier in the movie, there's multiple scenes where you can clearly see they're filming on a boat, no problem. Why couldn't they do that for like the last 30 seconds?
In fairness to the movie, they're filming on a boat in, like, there's no crosswinds, the water was not choppy at all. When you get out on, because they shot in Scotland.
Right.
And the waters there are
terrible,
fucking rough. Like, they're not as rough as Istanbul, which is why they didn't shoot there. But they're still pretty rough. So I can understand why they wouldn't do it, especially after the bullshit they went with in Istanbul, because they tried shooting there and it just didn't work out. So in fairness to the movie, that I understand why they didn't do it. Also, I don't really, that part, like weird projection doesn't really bother me that much. Like I can watch a movie from the 60s and be like, okay, it was shot in the 60s, and my brain just, basically I put like a filter on and it doesn't bother me.
Right.
But I can understand why that's, not everybody would look at a movie that way and be like, okay, that's a little
well, especially, like, again, it's just because it's the ending. It'd be one thing, I feel like, if it was like towards the middle of the movie, it'd be more acceptable. But yeah, it's because the ending is so unsatisfying, I feel like that's what I'm looking at more than anything. It's just because the lack of effort put together.
I think it's an editing thing though too, because like it just seems like you don't really the ending just creeps up out of nowhere. Like the big climactic fight is just them being chased for a bit, they stop, he shoots the water, and then it's done. Like there's no back and forth. It's just one final bluey and then we're done.
Yeah, and it's like the next day he takes the film reel and throw it in the water, and that's it.
Well, not even that. There's a scene in between then. There's the Rosa Klebb part.
Oh,
which like that feels like, when I watched this, did you guys get the same feeling in this? Did that feel like an after credits scene to you?
Yeah, it really did feel like
it. Actually.
Because like I was saying, it just kind of fades out. Like you have this giant fight on a train, and then a helicopter, and then a boat chase, and then it just kind of pitter patters out, and just like they can't know when to let go. It's like a trap song slowly fading out, and the club is turning on the lights, and they're just like, oh, okay, well, you guys need to get out now. The fucking movie's over. Go home. Bye. It's a weak ending.
Yeah.
But once again, still finding their feet. And once again, to give credit to Dr. No, a dude with robot hands drowns in radioactive water. That's a little bit of a better ending. And then he goes out porking a lady on the boat. Like, bing, bang.
Right. It's a little bit more final.
Yeah.
It feels like an ending. But yeah, overall, I much improved over Dr. No. Still not quite. It's definitely a movie that you had mentioned before, where like the way that the reason this movie kind of suffers is because it's between the first one and one of the best ones. Yeah. Like that's its only real crime, is that it isn't the first one, or it isn't Goldfinger. Like that's the only real crime it really commits.
Yeah. Goldfinger is iconic in everything it does, and once again, the sets from Dr. No are iconic, and this one is just, it's a very good action film.
It's fine. Yeah. And I mean, there's 20, our numbers of how many there actually are is completely different. So, because I don't know, but like there's 24, 25, 26, depending upon which timeline you follow, of these things. So it's the movie really has to stand out. Otherwise, it's easy to be, or for good or bad. Otherwise, it's very easy to forget it. So I can see why this is one of those where it just kind of fades to the background. Certainly not bad by any means.
Yeah, because I have never seen this before. I haven't really seen. I don't think I've seen any of the Sean Connery Bond movies, honestly. And yeah, I definitely liked it more than Dr. No. It was better pacing too. I feel like there was just more going on, because like Dr. No, there was a couple scenes where I'm like checking my watch, but this one, like, even if it got slow, it was one of those things like you knew each scene was building to something. Even with the erratic editing and pacing, I still feel like there's still like a really good story in there. I do like the twist. I do like the character actions. So I thought it was a good movie overall. I would definitely watch it again any day of the week.
I couldn't agree with him more.
I may even give up golf for it.
Oh, really?
And remember, if you're rushing to show us some love, remember to like this video, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our Patreon if you're so inclined, and share this video with all of your friends.
What are you doing?
I'm looking for the knife button.
Moderately Neato.